Hello, and welcome to this new session of our raw material winter 2024, where we will cycle through the 12 ORM pillars for the next 12 weeks, entering the arena, developing our relationship with each of these pillars, gaining a deeper understanding of ourselves, and the ability to represent ourselves in the world around us. So I think I'm going to get a little more personal this session and talk from my own perspective. My dad died December 4th of 2023. So my family is experiencing our first set of holidays really without him. And that's a different approach. In my life, he's never not been there. I've never not spent a Christmas or a 4th of July with my family. That's how it's always been. So I have these very strong ties to certain things about my dad. I want to back up a little bit and talk about how the people that shape our lives, and my dad is one of them, can be both mentor and tormentor. They can teach us things that help us in life, and they can also teach us things that really tear us down in certain ways without even meaning to. So I'm going to lay out a few things about my dad, Duffy Cardiff, who was a very interesting mentor. I'm going to start with that. He taught me so many things in so many different directions that it's hard to even know where to start applying gratitude. This man picked at my self-esteem when I was younger in ways that I don't know why it was okay or appropriate for him to do. Specifically, there was a time when I was entering puberty where he looked at my butt and said, "Tavish, your butt is getting huge. Like, it qualifies for statehood." I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't consider what statehood meant, that my butt was now as big as a state. And it was a couple years later where I heard that in a different way and was like, "Damn, Dad, that was harsh." And he called it like it was, not only on me, but on pretty much everyone around him. My sister seemed to get a pass, and I remember asking him once, like, "Why do you say things like this to me and you would never say it to Chauncey?" And he said to me one time, "Chauncey, if I said that to Chauncey, she would fall in a puddle on the ground and we wouldn't get her back up." And I thought about that, and he was right. He was harsh with me. He pushed me up against a line. He always made me know that I was loved, but also he put me in a situation where I questioned trust all around me. I should back up to my 3rd grade year, which is probably the story that I should really tell here, because I think it shapes me as a human being in a lot of ways. 3rd grade was the year my parents split up when I was young. I think it's the year that I realized I had a lot of influence and power over some of the kids around me, and maybe my ego got a little full. In particular, this day, myself, Chauncey, and 2 Lisas that live next door to each other that grew up down the street all went to the neighborhood drugstore McDaniel's, and with the intention to steal candy. Anyway, we got out of there. We had killed it and ate the candy on the way home. The Lisas went their way. Chauncey and I went our way. And by the time we got home, my dad was waiting for us. And he knew what we had done. Somehow it had gotten to him, and he had gotten from work to home by the time we had gotten home and started asking questions. And I remember him asking me, and we didn't have any evidence, and I lied. And my dad said to me, "There are 2 things in the world that I can't stand: a thief and a liar. And you are both of those things." And as a young kid, to think that my father can't stand me and that I am labeled something that was going to stick with me for the rest of my at least young life, or my life in interpreting my dad, set up a dynamic where I lied to him a lot of the time and lied to my family a lot of the time when I was young. And to be honest, probably lied to myself a lot of the time about how I really felt about anything or what I wanted to do. Number one, because I didn't feel like he would let me do anything. He didn't trust me. I had proved myself untrustworthy in the third grade. And my mind somehow could not accept that I was anything but the way that my dad saw me. And I don't know exactly how to explain that beyond what I do. Our childhood minds, our teenage minds take in things in such strange ways that we miss the point of what the person who's teaching us is telling us, and we take in some really negative information. I know that my dad did not intend to set me up to feel inferior in his eyes for most of my childhood. I think the universe set me up to question my own behavior and to really look at my own motivations so that someday when I was older, I could be sitting right here having this conversation. When I was younger, there were two things I thought I wanted to be when I grew up. One was an attorney and one was an Episcopal priest. I wound up doing neither of those things. But the laws of man and the laws of the universe, the laws of spirit seem to gravitate towards me, and the older I get, the more those things guide my life, my existence, my relationships, and certainly the development of our raw material. As I look back on my relationship with my dad as an adult, I see 30 plus years of a friendship that was formed on top of feeling insecure, feeling so many things that my dad wasn't prepared to receive, but those things forced me to know what was going to become important to me. And it didn't mean that I needed to work them out with my dad, because he's who he is. And the emotional parts of him aren't connecting in the same way that the emotional parts of me connect. I know this, and I'm beyond fine with it. I connect with him on so many levels that even to this day, I still feel him. I still have him coming in different ways, supporting me and my life. Ultimately, my dad's mentorship led me to wholeness. He called out the things that were wrong in his mind. He set me up with a set of ideals, but ultimately he gave me unconditional love. And it took me a long time to be able to feel that under the pressure of judgment, under the feelings that I had failed or done something wrong. But as he continued to love me, as he continued to tell me he was proud of me, as he continued to say things that weren't, "You're a thief and a liar," I began to feel whole in the space of his love, just as I began to feel whole in the space of my community and my family and my environment. And now I can feel comfortable in the space of this structure that I think in some ways he taught me how to think about these things in order to just be straight with myself. His counsel was never really direct advice so much as telling you what he would do and then letting you consider your own space in the conversation. And as I say that, I don't know that he was fully in agreement with that, but also that's how I took it and that's how I operated within it. And I think that's how I've learned to operate in so many situations, taking my own raw material, the triggers, the fears, the anxiety, the things that have bothered me, the people that have said things that have hurt me, and also loving those people anyway, not holding them accountable for my feelings, and learning how to trust that I am supported in a world where I may not be received as 100% perfect person, but let's be really honest, none of us are. And the idea that we could present that way or that other people could see us that way is such a silly notion, but strangely, we all walk around thinking we can project some image that is some semblance of that. So thank you to my father, Duffy Cardiff. And I'll leave you with one thing he said to me, and I think I'll make it the challenge for the week too. We were standing in the pool one day, and he said, I hope you appreciate your particular dip in the gene pool. And as I thought about the qualities I pulled in from him and from my mother, I knew then what he meant, that he was right. But as time has passed and I've thought about that statement more and more, I really can appreciate what each of their raw material brought me, what each of their families brought me, what each of the people that they're attached to brought me in terms of mentors and people to influence my life. And I sit in gratitude. And I ask each of us to just take a look at our roots, find the gratitude, and I'll see you next week when we talk about music.